college football season is here. So I am going to give you my predictions for what's going to happen this season. So if you're ready for it, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down because it's your thumb, and let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into my predictions for this upcoming season, just in case you've been sleeping under a rock for the past 6 months, we're going to talk about some of the big offseason news. And the biggest that has occurred literally in July is that the Pac-12 basically no longer exists. Well, I'm being a little dramatic, but every team almost has left the Pac-12 or is planning on leaving the Pac-12 in the upcoming future. Oregon and Washington will be joining them in the Big Ten coming soon. Colorado announced this offseason that they'll be leaving the Pac-12 to go hop over and play in the Big 12. And in no shocking fashion, the SEC is still holding on strong, given the fact that they are probably the strongest conference in college football, if we're all being completely honest with ourselves. This is the last year of 4 teams making the college football playoffs, as next year they'll be moving to a 12-team format, which will provide us with even more craziness to dive into throughout the entire season. Arguably most upsetting stories this past offseason has been the Northwestern football team. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link an entire article discussing it, but it was just level 75 hazing, bad way to run a program, on top of the fact their coach did get fired and players did come out saying that these things actually happened to them. And this season is filled with so many teams trying to come back with new coaches or new quarterbacks or just a combination of both. You have Colorado being put on display with Deion Sanders heading up the team this season with his son and all the many transfers he has gathered across the nation at Colorado. You have so many big conference teams that really led the way last year getting new starting quarterbacks this season, as Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio State are all really high on the college football rankings, but they're going to be starting with a new quarterback that could lead them great into the future or kind of bring them down this season. I'm breaking down my predictions this year into 2 categories. The first category is sleeper teams. Teams I have chosen are Oregon, Kentucky, and Notre Dame. Now, Oregon, you might be a little confused about, but the rumors are saying that Oregon's really got something kicking up over there. And honestly, I think they're going to have a big season due to the fact that the Big Ten is letting them hop on board and leave the Pac-12. And they're like, we need to show a little bit of something so people can be interested in our football program, because no one has genuinely cared about us since Marcus Mariota and Justin Herbert. Kentucky, I think, is going to be a sleeper team because they had such big seasons the past 2 years. Everyone's kind of not paying attention to them. They have a new quarterback since Will Levis now in the NFL. And I think their coaching staff is just really cooking up something really good over there in Lexington that no one's really paying attention to because they're just kind of riding the middle of the wave in the SEC, which they can't really help it because you literally have the top 2 spots that have been held to the same 2 teams, with the third a rotational team. Notre Dame might seem as a team that everyone has on their radar every year, but I don't think so. And obviously they got off to a pretty slow start last year, and I think they've kind of learned from that, and they could be like on your college football playoff watch list due to the fact that their schedule this year is quite a lot better than it has been in the past previous years. And if they don't get off to that slow start, they might have a higher opportunity on moving in. Now, they will always have that conflict of not being able to play in a conference championship due to the fact that they are independent. But if you put a pretty good resume together before December strikes, then maybe they'll have a chance. And the second and final category of my predictions are going to be who's going to make the college football playoffs. And if you didn't watch the same video I made last year, you would know how obscenely wrong I was. And so we're going to keep this streak going, or hopefully move it into a better fashion. But the 4 teams I've chosen the college football playoffs this season are Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and USC. Now, obviously Georgia, have you seen their schedule? Like, who are they playing? Exactly. So that's almost a layup. They're in a shoe-in if they can just focus. Michigan, I feel like Jim Harbaugh literally coaching for his life, as well as their quarterback. He has come back. He could have went to the NFL last year. He came back. He is doing this more for pride, as well as most of the other team, because a lot of their players definitely could have made a good check getting in the first round of the NFL, but they chose to come back to college. Ohio State, who I don't want to say they're fighting for their life to stay relevant, but that coaching staff definitely has a massive target on their back due to the lack of things they have to show for the greatness that CJ Stroud was. For the past 2 quarterbacks they have that they really didn't do anything. Finally, you have USC. The way they just didn't come through in the Pac-12 last year, lost some very important games to some not great teams, and it's Caleb Williams' last season. USC, they've got a new coaching staff. Specifically, they have acquired the Arizona Cardinals' former head coach to now be on their staff and help with QBs. And if you know anything about him, he has worked with literally almost every single Heisman winner in the past few years. So that's big shoes to fill, and I think USC can actually make a push toward this. But now that you know all about my predictions about this college football season, make sure to check out this video right here where I talk all about the new eligibility rules impacting college football players right now. As well as subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I post a new video, which are on Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead and leave me a comment down below telling me who you think is going to make the college football playoff this year. And give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down because it's still your video. And remember, don't be afraid to join the convo.